guys, this is Jerry and Jacob with two unrelated
Unrelated Brothers.
brothers. almost,
We'll get
almost.
there. We'll get there.
Hey, this is episode number 2, so I think we're doing pretty good.
Much better start.
Yes, definitely. Um, so you want to give them a little idea of what we're going to be talking about on this episode?
Yeah, well, considering that about I think a month or two ago, I don't even remember now. It was announced that there was going to be a Dead Space remaster. I think is what they're using, maybe remake. And it's October. We decided to talk about one of our favorite, not just horror games, but just games in general. The original
Yeah.
Dead Space from 2008. And
Yeah, for sure.
And before we dive into I played the game on PC. I know Jerry, you said you couldn't really, you did more like watch videos on it because you just didn't have a chance.
Yeah, so I've been working a lot and I've been super sick. But yeah, shout out to the Rad Bread YouTube channel. I watched his 4K playthrough of the original Dead Space. Really, really great. If y'all don't know him, I'd check him out. He, especially like if you don't have a lot of money, but you want to experience a video game, he's a great channel to do that, I would say.
Nice. And for me, for my little research here, I would say give a little shout out to Wikipedia and the YouTube channel Gamers. I got nice little details on the development and history of the studio for Dead Space. Speaking of which, I know most people know now it was Visceral Games who developed Dead Space. Originally, though, it was EA Redwood Shores. They would rebrand as Visceral Games the next year.
So it was originally kind of like a Wii shooter, right? Because I think I have that.
That's a different game. That was like their follow-up game.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what started that one. And crazy thing about this studio at the time, Redwood Shores, they really just specialized in making a ton of licensed games. So they made like those old Lord of the Rings games, The Two Towers, Return of the King. They did that. They did some of the James, but those are good. Yeah, they made James Bond games, made Tiger Woods games, and this is a surprising one. They made the Godfather game on the PS2.
Really, I love that's dude. I love the Godfather.
So they were definitely just not to say those games were bad, but more just chugging out products with name brand recognition, and that's how you get your money.
Right, not really any IPs.
Yeah, no really original IPs until Dead Space, where they took their chance. Took them a bit to pitch that to EA, and EA said, "All right, we'll give it a shot." And now, while the numbers aren't entirely confirmed, there is a tweet from a former developer for that game who estimated the budget was roughly $37 million.
Wow.
And usually the marketing is about the same as that, so around $70 million for the whole thing, marketing and budget included.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. You did some good research on this.
I did some digging. It was tough to find, which is crazy to think because $70 million today is a lot. So for 2008, that's insane.
Well, I mean, look at what was it? Grand Theft Auto 5 was like, that was a lot. Like
that was not only the studio, but like the development, but like the marketing too.
Yes, humongous.
Mm-hmm. But like for like a new IP, especially a horror game, that's a pretty big budget.
Yeah, for sure.
So that was announced in September 2007. Like I said, I remember specifically the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star commercial. That's what sold me on it.
I actually think I got the game like maybe a year or two after it came out. And I remember, I think I was in junior high.
Yeah.
And seeing that little hand floating in space, man, that just looked so sick.
It was very what's that movie? Event Horizon-esque.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what definitely reminded me of. And so I love sci-fi and I love horror games. So sci-fi horror, boom, like that's right up my alley.
Yeah, and one thing I noticed kind of rewatching it is kind of like the jargon and the verbiage they use for the technology.
Yeah.
Like they're talking about the magnetic field and this and that, and it's kind of like, even though we don't know what they are, right? The way they set it up, we kind of have a general understanding of what those, I guess, technologies are doing. So we're not totally lost. Like I just thought that was really interesting how sci-fi worlds kind of set that up.
Yeah, like when you make up your own like science and any type of media, it to me it's not so important. I mean, if it's like really realistic, then obviously it's important for it to be based in real life. But as long as it's consistent and you make it make sense in that world, then I'm willing to like suspend all my disbelief as long as it's consistent.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think this
agree.
game is pretty consistent with that. So that was announced in September 2007, and it will release 2 different release dates for the PC and console games, but in October of 2008. By February 2009, it sold about 1 million copies. And it was considered a disappointment by EA, naturally. But I mean, if you think about it, they sold about 1 million, but they didn't sell that much until like January and February. By then, they probably sold a lot of copies for less than like the full $60.
Right. I actually remember during Dead Space 2 them having that kind of EA code that you had to enter, like if you wanted to play it
Yeah.
online, and if you had bought that game used, you had to give them an extra $10. I remember that was like really
Yeah, that was shitty. And not only that though, this is the peak era of GameStop. So who knows how many people actually played the game? Probably a lot more than that. But I know I bought it used, so they didn't get any of my money for that.
as well. Yeah.
So I'm sure that played a big role in it.
So what other factors do you think led to like there being such a low, I guess, response from people buying the game?
Well, I mean, it's always a risk with a new IP, so I'd say that's part of it. I mean, horror games is already kind of a risk. I think now, today, that's not too bad because everyone's all about that. But at the time, the horror franchises were kind of, I wouldn't say dying, but it was definitely a rut. I can't think of a lot of horror games at the time there. Horror-esque, yeah, but not full on. Like, this is in the horror genre. But I think another big reason for his disappointing sales was 2008, man, was an insane year for games. Look, when I was looking into it, honestly, there's so many games here that we could just do full episodes on too. Like, it's that loaded. So just for reference, I used Metacritic. I know that's not the be all end all, but just for the most aggregate scores and stuff, just to get an idea of it. So this was the year. Not only that, this was the year the Wii came out.
Okay.
So the Wii, like the top 4 selling games of that year, were all Wii games.
Okay.
It dominated Mario Kart, Smash, Wii Sports, like that. That's all it was, just Wii.
All the way home?
Yeah, all the way home. It was insane. And so besides that, though, this was when Grand Theft Auto 4 came out, April 29th, 2008.
Oh my God! Okay. I don't even get me started on GTA 4. Wow. Okay.
Metal Gear Solid 4.
Okay. Yes. Classic.
Left 4 Dead.
The first or the second?
The first one, Left 4 Dead, the OG.
Okay. Yeah, man. Speaking of that, Back 4 Blood just came out.
Oh, is that related to Left 4 Dead?
Yes, I believe it's the same team, but they kind of had to do their own thing. Just Valve. Okay. I guess Valve. I don't know what's going on, Valve.
Gotcha. Yeah. Another one was looking at it right now. Not the more casual game, but still, it was the peak of the time. Rock Band 2.
Okay. Yes.
We had Fable 2. Some of the lesser known ones: Burnout Paradise.
Oh, classic.
Classic one. Resistance: Fall of Man 2.
Ooh.
Guitar Hero World Tour.
Wait, so Guitar Hero 2 and World Tour came out in the same year?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember they pumped those out a lot.
Oh yeah, they did. Like I said, this was that was peak era of that. And these games I want to mention because these were not only the same month, the same week that Dead Space was released, and that would be Little Big Planet.
Okay.
And the big one is shocking, Fallout 3.
Really?
The same week, like maybe days after or before Dead Space was released, Fallout 3.
Shit.
And,
okay, yeah.
And the same week too, the PS3 port of BioShock.
Okay. Yeah, I remember getting that. I don't think I got it when it came out, but yeah.
Holy so that was the same. Yeah, exactly. And the next month, maybe not critically acclaimed, but of definitely part of the peak era of the franchises. In November, Gears of War 2, and Call of
Okay.
Duty World at War.
Okay. Yeah, zombies.
Yep, it's zombies. So that so those that month span, that is what they dealt with.
So speaking of that, I mean, there had to have been because there's always a part of the year where there's like a drought. I
Mhm.
wonder. I mean, when did it release? In October?
Yeah, in
Like, were
October.
they going? Okay, so I guess they were like, okay, it's a scary game. We're gonna release it in October, but
I want to
I
think
mean,
so.
I
Yeah.
just don't understand why they wouldn't release it like during a drought.
Yeah,
That would kill.
yeah. I guess maybe they were just really counting on that to work in October. I mean, I don't know the whole timing of it. I don't know if like they maybe wanted to release it like maybe in January or February, where like that's where it's a dead time for games. But maybe they had a deadline. Like it has to be finished. We want to release it before 2009.
Yeah, for sure.
That I don't know, but I mean, when you're competing against that and a fresh IP with all those, I mean, not only with like these actually like critically acclaimed games, but like
So
popular
well
casual
established.
ones. Like yeah, you're just that. I remember reading like the EA president going, oh, we have tough competition. Usually that's just code for like bullshit. We're just making excuses. In this case, you know what? That is a valid reason. I think maybe not the only reason, but it's definitely a valid reason.
Yeah, big ups for even getting a million sales.
Yeah. So I know people would, if you were trying to do the math, you think, oh, a million copies, 60 million. But you're not going to get all of that. Like, you probably get half of that. That I would assume the company does because
Yeah,
of retail, the physical stuff, things like that.
shipping
But
and all that.
exactly. But so even being generous and saying they got 60 million, they got the full 60 million. If the budget was about 37 million and the marketing was about the same, they still didn't break even.
Okay.
So that they definitely lost money on that. Even though it did get good, won a ton of awards. Everyone who played it loved it. It did. I don't think it's made it. I'm pretty sure it did not make its money back.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I want to really talk about that too right now because I think that leads into uh the direction it went into. Like Death Space 2 obviously is I think a great balance of action and horror.
I agree.
And then the
Sure.
third one is when it goes full action, and I know a lot of people, especially us, were disappointed in that. But having looked into
Yeah,
this and seeing, the numbers too for Dead Space 2, it almost like they had to do it because they weren't making them. Even if they did make money, it wasn't a lot. So they probably felt like we have to change it up to maybe, attract a larger audience. Unfortunately, it probably backfired. It alienated their hardcore base and still didn't make
yeah,
enough money, and thus leading to its its death. And I hope, well, temporary death maybe with the remake coming out next year.
yeah.
But yeah, I
I
mean, looking into that, it's like crap. It already had a foot in the grave by the time it was born.
yeah, man. That's like I mean, it definitely wasn't the first horror game series to do that because I remember
Oh yeah.
Resident Evil 5 was just a
Mhm.
huge shift to action, and then also the Fear series, which I think came out around the same
Yeah.
time as it went from Fear 1 to 2 to 3. There was definitely a major shift in
Mhm.
from horror to action, especially I mean, which we played Fear 3 all the way together.
Yeah, it's fun.
And yeah, that was great, but it was definitely a different monster than because
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember. I think what it was eighth grade. I don't know if you remember me telling you about Fear, how
Oh
scary it
yeah, I
was.
remember.
Yeah, so I feel like that's a a pretty common thing that happened with a lot of these horror games is a shift from horror to a mainstream kind of Michael Bay action.
Yeah, what's funny, I think that honestly applies to movies as well.
Yes, yes, it does.
I mean, that's what happens, I guess, when you try to make it into a franchise. You can only do the same thing so much, but once you change it up that much, you lose what originally made it great. Uh, uh, so with that though, it did to kind of go more into the talking about the first game. We might talk about the whole series here, but this is primarily be focused on the original. It did get a lot of good scores. I mean, it mainly ranged from like the high eights to low nines out of 10. So basically, very good to great game. Most of the praise was for its atmosphere and presentation, mainly sound. It got I remember it did win a lot of awards for its sound design and soundtrack. A lot of people like the combat mechanics and the AI, and of course, I know another thing we love of this game was the lack of HUD.
Yeah.
Like the whole screen was used. It didn't nothing floating. I understand why not all games can do that, but in this sense, it was like amazing.
It melded really
really
well
love
with
it.
the with that sci-fi feel. Like you had your ammo numbers popping out of your gun. Your health was in your spine. And even your stasis was on that pack too.
Yeah, it was perfect. I think whenever you have that kind of aesthetic, if you have like a futuristic aesthetic, I think it really lends well to being able to use little to no HUD. Oh no.
Yeah.
How about now?
Okay, you're back, man.
Okay. So I think when you have that kind of aesthetic, it should lend a hand to make it easier to have a little to no HUD. I feel if you can do that, I feel like most games should try to shoot for that, if possible.
Okay. Yeah, for sure.
And so that was the main thing. Obviously, people really dug the whole aim for the limbs, kind of like what they said, like unlearn the headshot. It wasn't as hard as it sounds, but nice change of pace.
Yeah, I mean it definitely I would say wore off quick.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as you got to aim for the limbs, like that really wore off. But the introduction to it was great.
Yes.
The blood on the wall,
Yes.
shoot the limbs and all that stuff. That was just really cool, and that wasn't a new thing at the time because I think Resident Evil 4 might have had it. But you would shoot them in the head and they would turn into another monster. Whereas in Dead Space, you'd shoot them in the head and it would change their style of attack because
they would just go unpredictable. They just go wild.
Yeah, for sure.
And so those are the praises for it. And as far as the criticisms, it was mostly to deal with the story. Like it was to quote just overall a few things was just it's derivative, poorly written, and that the levels were repetitive and the mission structures too were a bit repetitive. Those are the main critiques.
A silent protagonist as well.
Having played it again now, I'm indifferent towards it. I don't think it added to it. It may have taken away a little, but it was fine. I don't think it really had a huge effect on my playthrough of it.
Yeah, but I did notice as the series went on,
Mm-hmm.
that Isaac definitely got more talkative, especially because in the second one that had to do more with his mental health and how he was slowly kind of going insane. So he had to be more vocal, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you have a silent protagonist, the idea is, you are this character. But I think the problem with that is, I guess, because his reason for being there is very personal, to save his girlfriend. Obviously you kind of care, obviously, but at the same time, you can only do so much because you have no idea the relationship. You have no idea what he's thinking really about it. So
it's not your girlfriend.
Yeah, so I can see why then in that sense it would be kind of weak because you don't really know him, like why it's so important.
Not only that, like if I was in his situation, I would be screaming the entire time. And I would probably be dead within the first 5 minutes, but
yeah, I would say that too. Speaking of that too, I remember very clearly when you first showed me this game. I was at your house. The intro right at when they introduce hey Felix cat when they introduce the first Necromorph and you're supposed to run away into the elevator. The first one that popped up and hit me, I just screamed like a bitch bad. I fucking let loose a scream.
I do remember that. It was classic terrifying memory of our childhood.
It was terrifying. And from there, I'm like, all right, I definitely need to play this game.
Yeah. And shoot, and we really didn't play Dead Space 2 at the same time, did we? I think you got it kind of after the fact.
I think yeah, because you got it right away, didn't you?
Dude, I stayed up till 12 o'clock. And so, like the online came out for it. And so I entered that little code and the code didn't work. So I actually got on with EA support at like, and this was like in 2008, so we didn't have cell phones that did all the cool shit
Yeah.
they do now. And so the lady wanted me to send because this was like through chat, wanted me to send a picture of the code to prove that I wasn't lying. So like I spent like a good 30 minutes, on my stepdad's computer trying to take a picture of it. And then finally I got another code. That one worked. And that's actually how I ended up, because I guess it was just so new that code hadn't worked yet. So I remember when you got the game, I gave you my code and it worked.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now.
Yeah. Yeah, because I got that. And I remember, I think I played it all night, and then I went to pick you up from school, and I almost got into a car accident because I was so sleepy. I think it was me, you, and Mario. We were just, I was.
Oh yes.
I think I almost drove off with your leg hanging out of the car. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I wasn't in the car yet, and you just started taking off. Like, dude, what the fuck? I'm still trying to get in.
Yeah, I was.
And you're just like, dude, no, I'm sorry.
Good times.
That's funny. So I guess with all of that, before I know I wrote down a couple of the main memories I had before I replayed it. I it was very vague. I remember the gist of it. I do remember I probably would have given it like a 9 out of 10 back then. Having replayed it, I'd say that score still holds up for me.
Really?
It's very good. It's definitely not perfect. I mean, what game is, but it's as good as I remember. I don't remember it being like a masterpiece. I just remember it being very good and falling in love with, like I said, its mood, its aesthetic, its atmosphere, and that 100%. I still love that about that game.
I would say my replay of the game was probably very different from yours, just because you were actually playing it and I'm kind of watching somebody play it and listening to them talk. But yeah, it definitely looked really good. Good at building up, that kind of suspense with the music, that screeching, and sometimes coming after you. Yeah, and I mean, I remember it just like, just like yesterday, really.
Yeah.
Whenever I was playing it originally, I mean, it was a badass game, man. I mean, it was a classic. That's why I got the second one the day it came out, at midnight. In fact, getting onto that, man, do you remember the opening scenes of the second one?
Yes, very much so. That one definitely sticks with you.
Yes. Perfect. But yeah, that first one was definitely. I mean, it was a great game, man.
Yeah, for again, when I play on my PC, I don't have like a high end PC, but it's pretty good. I was able to play it as pretty much the highest settings you can go, and I wanted to use the controller, but I thought, nah, I do want to see how it works on a mouse and keyboard. It handled pretty well. I mean, I have stupid hands. I'm not really a PC guy, but even with that, I still controlled pretty well. I felt like it was very responsive. Yeah, it still looks good. Like I said, when you put it in the highest settings, it obviously you can tell it's an old game, but it was still very pretty.
Yeah, I remember them saying kind of like the corridors kind of all look the same for the game.
Yeah, I can see that. That's probably what they meant too with like some of the, level structure and stuff could get repetitive. That I can see for sure.
But to me, that blends well with the lore, because that's like a very utilitarian timeline. Like there's really nothing for aesthetics. It's all about purpose, and if that's the case, they're not gonna make all these colorful hallways, and it's gonna be pretty much the same. Especially because the ship was like on an emergency mode, so it's all gonna be dark. Except for places where they really needed the energy, like an engine room or wherever else.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I get where they're coming from. At the same time, like when you just think about the lore and the timeline, I just find that point really moving.
No, I get that, and like it's not like it's all hallways, Like I do feel like there is a structure to it, and I think it gives as much variety as it can given the setting. Like you said, of course it's not. It's all on a ship. If this is like different worlds and stuff, then of course you want it to be different. But it's kind of like you're on the Nostromo and Alien. It's no one's gonna go like, oh, it's all the same and stuff. Like, well, yeah, it's a ship. It's supposed to be like that. It's like an office building in that sense. That's their office building.
Yeah, which I still haven't played that.
It's pretty fun. It's more the movie though, like just in that sense, like it's gonna be repetitive and stuff. Like I said, it's meant to be um functional, not aesthetically pleasing.
But what really surprised me though, uh, I mean, is you saying that it lost all this money, but it seemed like they invested a lot in all different kinds of media. Like I remember them having a CGI
Mhm.
movie, a
Yes.
cartoon movie, and then the books, which I love the books, especially Dead Space Martyr. And so something that's like not making money, you would think it would want to change that into different kinds of media.
I was gonna say I do remember like after this came out, like for a good solid like 2, 3, maybe 4 years, it was just a Dead Space media fest. Like you said, the Wii game, the movies, like the puzzle game of Dead Space, the books, just comics, like everything you could think of. They did that. They put their foot in there.
Yeah, yeah, and the thing is the different media really added on to the experience and gave you a different insight. Like
Hmm.
whether it was a cartoon or especially the book, like the book Dead Space Martyr, which
Hmm.
you uh, basically you were with the character Michael Altman, the supposed
Hmm.
founder of Unitology, and actually seeing how Unitology came about, and it's just a
Yeah.
total farce. It's nowhere near like what they say happened is nowhere near what actually happened. And so
Hmm.
like and what's crazy is you don't have to know that. If you didn't read the book, you would never know, and you'd be like, man, fuck
Hmm.
this Michael Altman guy. He's
Yeah.
like cultist. But then reading it and you find out that it's not like that.
Hmm.
It was cool. I felt like I knew like kind of a secret when I was playing the other games.
Hmm. Yeah. I wondered too. Do you think it would have? Like I said, I know general story now of the first one. Since playing it, I don't remember a lot of the second one. I know the second one dives more into Unitology. Um, do you think it would have helped more if they went into the even further into like the background of Unitology, kind of flesh that out?
I felt like they might have been kind of shooting off the cuff with that,
Hmm.
and basically had a basis of what they thought the religion would be,
Hmm.
and then they fleshed it more out in the book. Uh,
Yeah.
so I kind of like that kind of mysteriousness. Like you kind of had enough to kind of piece together what happened, but you might not know exactly what happened or exactly how it happened.
Yeah. You always
Like
want a little mystery with that kind of stuff.
yeah. So I think it was perfect with that, but
Hmm.
like I said, that book just gave that extra insight. Really,
Gotcha. Gotcha. One thing I thought was pretty funny in this game, I completely forgot there was a map. I, I
really,
did I did not know there was a map.
yes, yes.
It was only when I was playing the obviously like the intro and it's giving you all these things and it said, oh, there's a map. Like, oh, there's a map because I don't think I've ever used it when I originally played it. I might have like obviously I remember probably opening it because you have to, but it's just because you just use that the waypoint finder, the little trail. That's all I used. Never used the map really.
Yeah, it was a cool little holographic.
It was a really cool map. I remember appreciating that, but it's like, damn, it sucks. I'm never gonna use this though. I don't need it.
And one meaningless detail I kind of remember from the first game is like in the very intro when you're on that ship
Hmm.
and Isaac is sitting in that chair. There's like a
Hmm.
pretty good danger warning sign behind the chair that's like
Huh.
readable. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but that was so amazing to me. Like when I first played that game.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of little details in here that I liked. So one of them was when you do the inventory, like wherever you put your cursor, like his head follows it. And that's not like game changing or nothing, but I thought, oh, that's a neat little thing to add on.
Yeah, for sure.
Another thing I liked, and I know you always like this about games, is the environmental storytelling.
Yes.
I think this game does a really good job of that. It makes you really, it really does make you feel like shit has gone down here. Having bloody handprints everywhere. All this graffiti and blood. Um, dead bodies everywhere, and like the certain positions you go like, oh, I guess this happened. Of course the audio logs, the text logs, kind of give you a little extra background into what happened.
Yeah, those all that kind of environmental storytelling and secondary storytelling was, I mean, perfect because it was all supplemental. Like
Hmm.
It's a nice little extra piece to have, but none of it's detrimental if you don't have it.
Yeah, just flushes it out a bit more. And given that it was being developed around the same time, I don't think it was purposeful. It was more a coincidence, but that's very Bioshock-esque as well.
Yeah. I would-
But I don't think that was like they were copying or nothing. I mean, Bioshock, the original one, came out only like a year before, maybe not even a full year either. So that's probably just a
Yeah.
thing that was starting to become more commonplace.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's definitely kind of like a um, games kind of follow a pattern together,
Hmm.
and I
It's
think
a
that's definitely one of them.
it's a copycat world.
And whether it's unconscious or purposeful, yeah, I
Hmm.
would definitely agree.
Another things I wanted to add was the suit. I believe is iconic. I love Isaac's suit.
What's your
I,
favorite suit? Because I know there's multiple.
I know in the second game they give you a greater variety of it. This first one really they just give you like more plates of armor,
Hmm.
and it's not until like the end game when you do like the second playthrough where they give you like the military one. That's the white one.
Yeah.
That one's cool.
So also on the for the PlayStation they give you an obsidian suit which was all shiny black, and then if you're on
Hmm.
Xbox I'm gonna say they gave you like maybe a white and green one. But that obsidian suit was badass. I mean, and that military suit was cool too. So it was like a
Mhm.
skull. I mean, it was just really
Yeah,
all the suits are cool. Even the original was
yeah,
badass.
yeah. And then the second one was it like they had different attributes? I don't know if
Yeah,
I
they
remember
kind of did
correctly. They
something
did.
or help because I remember they kind of like a sporty, thin armored one, and then like
Hmm.
a thick, chunky kind of older one that was like one of the first suits. All that, yeah. They definitely had a greater variety of suits in the.
Yeah, the second one I have to look up. But as far as the first one, like I said, they just really armored you up and then give you the military suit at the end. But still, I think just it's a very simple design, but it's really cool, and I don't know. I just always kind of love that kind of thing. I'm looking up his suits now.
I would.
Okay, I see what you're saying now.
Oh, you saw the obsidian suit?
I am looking them up right now.
Yeah, that one is really badass, man. I mean, they're all really cool. I remember like trying to level up and get more armor and this and that for the original.
Hmm.
And speaking of the second one, man, one of the most like memorable, craziest moments is whenever you actually go back to Ishimura.
Yeah,
That was, I mean, actually really remembering like, oh shit, I remember what went down here or what went down there.
yeah.
There, I mean, that was just, I mean, that just shows how impactful the game was.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, there was so much nostalgia in that. You would have thought like, oh man, this was like 10 years ago, but it was really only like 3 or 4 years, and but it felt like a lifetime.
Yeah, but I mean, I still remembered a lot of it real crisply.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was still amazing. Like I'm not complaining about it. It was just like it was just so real. Like oh my god, we're going back, even though it's not like it was that long ago.
Hmm.
And just kind of seeing like them trying to clean it up and stuff, and you kind of remembering like, oh wow, this is where this happened and stuff. It was really neat.
Yeah, yeah. And then I know you didn't play the whole third one except for the kind of the little sections that we
Yeah, I
played.
know we were trying to play it, and then it kind of ran off the rails.
Yeah, man, life happens.
We'll get there.
But yeah, that one. I mean, it's kind of cool, kind of comforting being there with your friend and playing a
Yeah.
horror game. But like I would say, kind of had the same vibe as Fear 3 in that aspect, where we're both having fun.
Hmm.
But I feel like one thing they did was they basically split some of our experiences. Like I would hear something or see something, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't, or vice versa. And I feel like that was
Yeah.
just really cool, and that was something that a lot of, which I don't really know how many co-op horror games there are, but I feel like not a lot of them do that.
Yeah. No, they really don't. Funny enough too, you mentioned that. When I was looking into the first one for a couple of months while I was in development. I don't know if most games do this, but considering what happened, I found it interesting with this. There was a prototype of a co-op experience, the first Dead
Mm.
Space, until they decided they just really couldn't nail it and just decided to make it a single player game. But I guess it's just kind of funny, like that idea was always there since the beginning.
Now, okay, so you say you remember the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for Dead Space. Do
Yeah.
you remember the commercial for Dead Space 2?
Which one? The your mom's gonna hate this?
Yes.
Yes. You know.
That
Go
that
ahead. Go ahead.
works for like a high school. That totally worked for a high school me.
I, I,
I mean,
I want to say something too, because I know looking back on it now and reading back things like people's opinions on it, I 100% now see why that was a terrible marketing campaign. Because like you were right, for us in high school that's perfect because our moms are very much like that. Like you put our moms in there and like yeah, that's them.
yeah.
And it was, and usually, especially for us, especially my mom being super fucking conservative, the old Hispanic Christian mom. If it's something she hates, then for me it's like it's probably cool then. But that's like aimed at like kids in school, and it's like, well, they can't buy that game, so not without a parent. So it's kind of not good target audience there.
Yeah, I would agree because I mean it was rated M, so
Like I said, for us, yes, it worked. I'm not gonna say it didn't work, but looking back on it now, it's like, oh no, like it's not gonna do much for your sales.
Yeah, you had to get your older brother to get it, or
yeah, your
luckily,
parents, your mom.
yeah, yeah. Luckily, my mom like just wasn't into video games, so I remember being 5 or 6 years old playing Grand Theft Auto 3 while my mom watched, just to kind of see what it was about.
Yeah.
And then even after her seeing all that, deeming it okay for me to play. So I mean that was cool. She just made it very clear that that's it's a video game.
Yeah, right. That's good. Yeah.
So I was lucky in that aspect. She just was like, okay, yeah, I'll get this.
No, yeah, she hates anything horror. So especially with games, since I'm the one doing the killing and stuff, yeah, she hated that. Just always yelling like, "What are you playing? Stop that! That's disgusting."
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because they let me get it. You'd think they'd learn like, oh, this is probably a bad game, but we'll just let them play it.
I mean, it was I don't know. I just thought that was like a perfect kind of like teenage boy.
It is
commercial.
but
like you say, like parents are gonna see that and be like, should I really? So should my son or daughter be playing this?
Like at the time for us, perfect. But if I was an adult at the time, I'd be like, oh well, then shit.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I think just give another critique of that first game was all the boss fights were a little disappointing. There really wasn't. They were more like on the bombastic side, very like Resident Evil 5-esque in that sense. Just huge enemies. You need to shoot like the glowing things, and that's how you kill them.
I would agree.
Yeah, like it again. First couple times it is cool, but then after like I do like the asteroid bit where you have to protect your ship from asteroids. That's a nice little change of pace. But then there's the second bit where you kind of have to do something similar, but instead of shooting asteroids, you just shoot the large tentacles with like the glowing yellow parts of it. And then pretty much the same thing for the final boss. And then the other, like I say, like all the final bosses, like big bosses, I can kind of like get into like, just stand there, shoot the little things. I mean,
that was pretty repetitive, I will say.
Yeah, like in the zero gravity one, like I understand what they were going for. Like it's in zero gravity, you need to jump and like strategize, use kinesis to throw the explosions at the the mouth and stuff. But really, like for me, it took me like 5 minutes. I just like moved back and forth a couple times and just shot, and it was pretty easy. And I'm terrible at shooting, and for me, it was like I got that like easy. It only hit me like once, and it was over.
Where I'd say they really improved on that is the second one, man. Second one, I don't know if you remember when you had to beat Nicole.
I do remember that.
That one, I remember that boss being really, really, really tough.
The second one had a lot. What was crazy too is that in the first one I liked eventually they did kind of run out of different types of necromorphs. Like eventually they did just make them black and they just became like bullet sponges. But even then, like, they did a pretty good job of giving different types, different. You had to come up with like slightly different strategies on how to fight them.
Do you know the story behind the Necromorph Designs?
I do not.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, the team for Dead Space 1 had to look at mangled bodies that were in car crashes to get
Jesus.
inspiration for the Necromorph design.
Mhm.
So yeah, that would that would definitely be pretty disturbing and put a damper, I think, on anybody's day. There'd be a lot of
Did something have to be done similarly for The Last of Us?
you know
It
what?
sounds similar.
That I don't remember. I just kind of remember they kind of took inspiration from that fungus that kind of ate up the ants, I believe,
Yeah,
or
the
the
cordyceps.
spiders, insects. Yeah, and so they would look and see how like a big kind of chunk of mushroom would be growing out of an ant, and how it would basically die somewhere high in the air, so the spores would kind of trickle down
Right.
to somewhere else. Yeah. But yeah. So that I could just imagine that, like, especially because some people just aren't. Some people like pictures don't bother them, but for some people it's like almost being there at the scene of an accident. So I can imagine that really fucking up in one day.
Yeah, I guess
Especially being on character design, like that's your only job. Like, hey, look at these bodies every day, and come up with something disgusting. Which they did a great job, I will say.
No, they did. I will say, yeah, enemy design's fantastic. It's disgusting. The baby ones are awful.
Yes.
Like going into the met. I know I wrote that down somewhere. Like the introduction of those necromorphs with those babies floating around and little like lullaby tunes in the background with the baby laughing.
And the mom,
But
in the very opening, the mom like, "Hey, come here." The
oh,
little
that's the
baby
second one.
crawling.
That's the second one.
That's
Yeah,
the second one. Okay, yes, I
Mhm.
remember that. I was like, oh fuck.
That was crazy.
Talking about playing on somebody's heartstrings.
Yeah, that was that's oh god. Yeah, that was like I said. And one thing I did love. I can't believe I didn't do this for the first time too. Is playing with headphones. Completely different experience. It's a must.
I would agree for sure.
Because I'm pretty sure I do remember it the first time playing it around, but obviously with headphones, it's much more noticeable. Is the whispering and kind of getting more wild as you progress because it's Isaac getting more influenced by the marker.
Yeah. 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 Headphones is definitely. Just speaking on. Since it's October, just speaking on scary games. Headphones definitely raise the bar for whatever you're playing, because I know that was kind of a common tactic in a lot of horror games, especially like for instance Fear, or Outlast 2, which are kind of newer horror games compared to Fear and Dead Space.
Yeah.
But
sound, I don't think you necessarily need it to make a good horror game, but if you really want to scare the hell out of the player, it is definitely something you got to focus on.
I will agree with that, because there are some PS Vita games that use that kind of 8-bit or 16-bit kind of graphics, and they're pretty good horror games, and they do have simple horror designs, but for majority of them, they're not really detailed the way you would as what you would find in a Dead Space or a more modern title. But yeah, so yeah, the headphones just totally bring a different dynamic into it.
Yeah, I think with like action games or just other things like that, it's probably always better, but I think you can get away with not using them. But I think now I definitely with like horror games, like you gotta use headphones. Like hearing all the clanging and like things hissing and howling, like where the hell is that coming from? You're always on edge.
Because there is a lot of environmental horror, because you are on this industrial thing where there is loose hoses, there is fucked up vents, and not only that, that's how the necromorphs travels through the vents. So you will hear like a dun 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 dun, and you're like, oh fuck, then nothing will be there. Then it'll happen again 5 minutes later, and then there will be a necromorph, or there won't. Like that's the thing, is they're just like, and it really does kind of mess with you. Like, oh fuck,
it does. So one thing is, there were a couple of times where I can, exploit the AI. Like when I got if I felt like I was overwhelmed, I could back into a room behind a door, and the enemies wouldn't go past, and I could just shoot them from there. Uh, that was, I don't blame the game for that. It's just me kind of taking advantage of it. But there were a couple times where I did try to do that. I see I'm in the room, I see a necromorph pop out. I'm I'm not ready for this. So I back up and just I'm gonna try to go around it. I hear it go back into the vents, and as I'm moving forward again, it pops up from the vent behind me.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's oh, that's a nice little thing where they did think about okay, these players are gonna try to cheese this thing, so we're gonna find a way around that.
Yeah.
I thought that was
That's
a
cool.
nice little thing. Yeah, that is really cool.
Kind of turning your weakness into a positive.
Yeah, like I said, there were a couple times I could do that, but it wasn't all the time. There were times the AI was able to go oh no, fuck this, I'm going around.
And so I just kind of wanted to jump back to the headphone thing,
Yeah.
especially being October. Have there been any games that you've played without headphones, and then you went back and played with headphones that you noticed there was maybe some whispering or something kind of creepy that you didn't hear before?
As of right now, like I said, since that's mainly gonna be on my PC when I play like that. Obviously Dead Space, that was the big one. Let me look at my other games because I know I played a couple more. Go on Steam. Let's see.
There is one that kind of pops up for me, and it's on a kind of a non-horror game, but on Fallout New Vegas. That first town that you're in, there's a cemetery. When you go in that cemetery, you can hear whispering, and that was
oh yeah.
I love that when there are horror elements in games that aren't necessarily horror. I don't know if I told you, but I'm playing Far Cry 6 now.
Yeah.
And there are these kind of secret treasures that you can find. There's this old abandoned castle, and you go in there, and whenever you walk next to a mirror, they explode. It's
really?
oh shit, yeah, and you'd hear whispers and this and that. Well, you find a button, you kind of find it's like a Scooby-Doo thing where there is something going on, but it's more technology than ghost. So I just thought that was kind of cool because that's definitely that's a non-horror game. So for them to put that in was cool.
One I definitely do want to try. I haven't played it, but once I'm able to find a way for it to work on PC would be Fallout 3, because that's very much a game that's not horror, but has a lot of horror elements in it.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. What is it? The Dunhill Tower, if I'm not mistaken.
Dunhill, I think it's just a Dunhill building, maybe.
Yeah, that one had a lot of Cthulhu kind of. And what was that author's name who came up with Cthulhu and all that stuff?
Oh, Lovecraft.
Yes, there was a lot of Lovecraftian elements to it, I would say.
No, yeah, definitely. I think they all have I think since Bethesda's gotten a hold of it. Maybe there were in the first two, but I haven't played them, so I can't say. But for all the other ones, there's always a Lovecraftian reference in them.
Yeah.
And speaking of that too, I feel like that's very much in play in Dead Space 2 as well. The cosmic, humans are insignificant type of deal.
Yeah. I mean that Fallout 3 was definitely a master at storytelling using the environment. Yeah. Oh, and I would like to address this. I don't know if anybody noticed, but sorry if I'm a little low energy. I'm getting over I guess a non-COVID related illness, so I kind of feel like a gas. But
and for me, I am recovering from a fractured foot, so I'm on meds as well. So we're doing our best here.
We are both disabled at this moment.
Disabled.
Yes. But yeah, so all of those games, like the Fallout series, were really phenomenal at storytelling and did have some nice horror elements. And in fact, I mean, there's some of the best kind of horror-ish kind of memories for me as a kid were from non-horror titles like Red Dead Redemption, Undead Nightmare. It was just
Yeah.
one of my favorite zombie shooters. And I mean, it wasn't like scary, scary, but it was
Hmm.
pretty. It could be creepy at times.
Creepy, yeah. I think sometimes things won't always scare you, but if it can make you feel uncomfortable when it's unsettling, that's just as good.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So, speaking of the Dead Space series, we've been
Hmm.
talking a majority about the series during this episode. What is like the standout moment for you? I mean, it could be through
Felix.
1, 2, 3.
Hmm. Standout moment in the series? Oh man. Um, let's see. If I had to pick, okay, let's do it easy. If I had to pick the something from the first one, it would be. Mm, I definitely see the first one for me would be when you first get attacked by that giant tentacle from the wall. That scared the fuck out of me when it first happened. When it just like comes out and you have to like start aiming at it before it pulls you into the wall and just absolutely eviscerates you.
Yeah.
That was definitely a standout for me in the first game. The second one, that's when there's a good amount. The opening is phenomenal. That's iconic. The introduction of the baby necromorphs, like you said, going into his mother arms and then just exploding. But then, of course, the freaking needle in the eye. That's probably the one that's remains very, no pun intended, visceral to me. That's such a visceral memory.
For sure.
To make us whole again, that whole thing.
That was definitely a Mortal Kombat moment to me that
Jesus. I will say, yeah, they did not hold back with Isaac's death. Sometimes I would die on purpose just to see like how he would die in the situation.
you definitely explode sometimes.
And the third one, we probably only made it like a third of the way through, and nothing really crazy stuck out to me there. So I'd say then for the moment, it would definitely be the needle in the eye. That's what I think of first. I'd say when I think of Dead Space.
Okay, I could agree with that. So for me, the standout moment in the series definitely be for me the opening of the game in Dead Space 2 when
Yep.
that guy comes to save you and then a necromorph comes and clings onto the back of his head and then all his skin falls off. That was just crazy.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
in one,
mhm.
um, and that guy, like you're coming up against a hallway and that guy's just banging his head against the wall. You can kind of
Yeah,
hear it, see the
that's a
shadow.
good one.
That and then I think this was the first one where that guy you walk up to him and he slits his own throat.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That's me up too. That was kind of crazy.
Oh man. What was I gonna say? Another thing I liked. It's very minor, but I really think the market design is really cool. Just nothing fancy about that. Just I think it's a nice little design for something like that. It just looks menacing and evil.
Are you talking about the cover? Oh, the marker design.
The
Okay.
marker, the actual
Yes.
marker. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
saw that, and I'm
So
like, I kind of want that as like a paperweight or something on my desk.
yeah, you can actually get I think on Etsy like maybe some paperweights of it. Especially with
Yeah.
that 3D printing and all
I was
that.
just saying, yeah, I was looking at eBay for that too, but I think Etsy, yeah, would be a better place for that. But like, I saw that, I'm like, oh, I definitely want that. It looks cool.
Sure. Yeah, man, that marker design. So in the book, they actually find the original marker in a place called Chicks Club, Mexico, which
No.
they say Chicks Club means the devil's cell. I don't think that's really accurate, but it supposedly came with the meteor that wiped out all the dinosaurs. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so Michael Altman, the actual supposed creator of Unitology, was
Hmm.
part of the team that because I mean that crater filled up with water and turned into a lake, and they found this crazy power or energy kind of marker there. No pun intended, or maybe it's intended. I don't. And they went down to the bottom, him and another character,
Hmm.
and grabbed it and took it up, and that's kind of when shit went haywire.
Yeah.
And that kind of introduced the kind of alien origins of all of that. Which I will say, I know you don't know much about Dead Space 3, but I
Hmm.
will say Dead Space 3 kind of fucked up on the whole introduction of the aliens. Kind of thing. There were some cool
Uh,
things with it, but there were some really shitty things about it too. I will say.
Okay. No, I can believe that. Like I say, I will give it a chance one day, especially playing with you. But now, yeah, my next one would definitely be playing the second one. I don't know if I get sued for this or they're gonna come after me, but it's safe to say Unitology is just basically Scientology in this universe, right?
Ooh, second episode, and you're already trying to get some heat on us?
Or edit it out if we need to. Let's just say Unitology definitely has some inspiration then from the real life. Let's go with that.
I would definitely agree with your statement. And for all of those people who are interested in Unitology, I would recommend the HBO documentary Going Clear. It's pretty interesting. But yes, I would definitely agree. That's that universe's Scientology for sure.
Especially in the end when it does like the little text on it, kind of shows like this is how you progress in the church and stuff. Like, oh, that's very obviously that.
Yes, good old L. Ron Hubbard.
Basically, yeah, that's all what Altman is. Like I said, that was mostly in the end. As far as the crazy cult wanting to transform into other beings and stuff, I guess I don't know.
Well,
maybe at the time it was original. I guess now you're kind of like, whatever. Another one.
It all came into like a singularity, like becoming one. I think that was the goal of Unitology. That was our end goal, is kind of all becoming one.
I guess I'll explain the name. Yeah, Unitology. Unite.
Yeah, for sure. But I feel like they could have expanded more on the religion itself.
Yeah, I can understand in the first one because like who knew like what they were actually planning. Like if they just thought it was gonna be a one-off or something, and that's kind of why they just threw most of that at the end. Like I said, definitely in the second one, I don't remember a lot of it, but I know they were definitely more of a presence in that one.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was a nice. They had their own little lore and their own little language. That was really cool.
Like I said, yeah, I can't want that. At least with every game, it seems like they added more to it, which is something I can always appreciate. They just didn't go like, here it is, you know what you're dealing with. They always did try to give it layers.
I will say the book really did add a whole another element to the religion. Like I said, it was about Michael Altman, the supposed creator of Unitology. I couldn't recommend it, enough.
Okay, I mean, maybe when I'm working nights again, I think that'd be a good way to kill time.
Yeah, man, just get a little audio book or something of it and just listen to it, man.
All right. Yeah, I'll give it a shot.
Then to keep on with our kind of Halloween themed kind of thing, another video game book that was way better. Well, so Dead Space Martyr wasn't better than Dead Space; it was a different animal. But one book that was definitely better than the actual game itself was the Dead Island book. That Dead Island book, I don't know if you know about it, zombies and all that. The book was way 1,000 times better than the actual game.
Huh. Was the movie? I mean, was the game? Did the game come first or the book?
The game came first.
Okay,
in fact, in the game you could find little books. You can find copies of the book on tables and shit.
Okay, so it was like already kind of like planned for that then.
Yeah, and that the author did a really, really great job, I would say, especially making those characters come alive, because I feel like that's one thing they missed during the Dead Space game, for sure.
Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry, Dead Island.
Dead Island, right. No, that's cool. That's cool. We're mainly talking about that.
But and so, what's some other horror games that really kind of left a mark on you that you were like, that you thought were really great? Maybe even some that you thought were good, but you just cannot beat. They're just, I mean, for lack of better terms, like too much. You just don't want to do it.
Looking back on it now, I mean, there's a ton of horror games I wanted to play, but I just can't for whatever reason. Like, so I've never beaten any of the Silent Hill games, but looking through them and like watching playthroughs and stuff, it's like, man, this looks amazing. I would love this kind of thing. As far as having actually played, the first Outlast was great. Amnesia is a classic. I think anyone who likes horror games probably knows about that, obviously. That's definitely a classic.
It kind of kicked off the kind of genre of the kind of run and hide, kind of like Outlast. Kind
Well,
of
yeah,
style
because
of gameplay.
I would say Outlast is very heavily inspired by that game for sure. Um, I really liked Alien Isolation. I've never been in it because sometimes I don't have anxiety, but that game gives me hard anxiety. I have to like pause it every like 20, 30 minutes just to go like, Jesus Christ, I cannot take this. This is too much.
Is that just due to the kind of being stalked by the alien, or
It's a lot
why?
of stress. It's stressful. Um, which is, I guess, a good and bad thing because obviously it's good because that's the point of the game. You want to feel scared, but I guess for me personally, it's a little bad because like, well, I can't even play the game now. I just can't handle it.
So, for me, one game that I still haven't, well, two games I still haven't beaten. One is Resident Evil 7. Still haven't beaten it, and I have the VR. I have yet to play it in VR. I just kind of don't even want to because it's already
Yeah,
anxiety inducing.
I imagine.
Uh, yeah, I'm actually stuck. I think when you gotta actually kill the dad with the chainsaw or something.
I know that part. Yeah, yeah.
But there's that, and then Outlast 2. So I really love Outlast 2 for its crudity, or yeah, it's how crude it is, and it's mix up kind of how it mixes that with religion. And I
Yeah.
know it's kind of like a cheap, but I as a person, I love crudity. I love crude things.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's just me. I think it's great. But yeah, so that like kind of the mixing like religion with this gross sexuality is just
Yeah.
like
It
that's
was
something different.
watching you play that. It's like I know you always go, you want to play this? Like, no, I don't. Actually, I'm very uncomfortable. That's
It
not.
just feels gross.
Yeah, exactly. And again, that's not me like shitting on the game. It's just that it did so well. It's like I don't even want to touch it.
And like I said, I think a lot of people think that's an easy out, and maybe it is. Maybe it is an easy out. But I will say, I mean, it did its job. I bought it, and I still have not beaten it. And you
Uh-oh,
not
okay, well, you cut out a bit.
part of it. These characters that seem supernatural aren't. You all right?
Yeah, you're cutting in and out a bit.
Okay. So let's say okay. So the game did its job as far as scaring me enough to where I really don't want to play it. I mean, I do. I feel kind of dirty when I play it.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing to think about. Like, is a game is that a detriment? Is it more detrimental, or is it just show how good a game is at its job when like you don't even want to play it anymore? You know?
Well, I feel like it's also part of how, as an adult, I view video games. So
Mhm.
I don't know about you, but like well, actually, I do know because we would play Call of Duty a lot together. But we would
Yeah,
play a lot of online games and we would play a lot of multiplayer. But like, not just me and you, but like a bunch of people that we don't even know.
yeah,
But now I don't. I don't play multiplayer and I don't play a lot of games that stress me out because it's like the world stresses you out. So when I'm playing video games,
yeah,
it's something where it's like trying to relax. I'm trying to enjoy something, and it can stress me out to a certain point. But if it becomes too uncomfortable, then it's like, why am I doing this? Whereas a kid, it's like you have no stressors really. I mean, there are some, but you get what I'm saying. It's a totally different kind of stress than being an adult.
yeah.
So that definitely has affected the games that I do play. And I mean, I have played some horror games. Uh, you know what though? I'm not gonna lie. A lot of them kind of escape me. Games that I've played recently that are kind of horror based.
Yeah.
But I mean, I am quite the fan of horror games. I do have a lot. I actually have Silent Hill 2 on PS2, which is our classic.
Yeah.
Um, I love zombie games. Zombies are like my thing. Love zombies. Um, yeah. So
Resident Evil 2, 3. I was never like an OG fan of Resident Evil, but I've played a couple of the remakes. The biggest one being 2. I haven't played that one now. I'm like, oh, okay, I can see why people like this. This is really cool.
yeah, and see, I I haven't played it. I haven't played 2 or 3 or the remake of 1. I actually remember seeing the original being played with Arturo. I don't know if you remember Arturo.
Oh yeah, Arturo.
Yeah, so his mom used to babysit me, and him and his brothers were like big Resident Evil fans.
Hmm.
So they would just sit on this little TV and I'd watch them play the first Resident Evil.
Oh, okay. With the, I think it's a, I know like for older fans, it's a shitty game, but for me it was terrifying when I was little. It was Resident Evil Survivor on the PS1. I could never beat it because like the first level would always scare me, and I would just always quit.
It was Resident Evil Survivor.
Well, I heard it's a really crappy game, but when I was just so little, the zombie noises were enough to make me go, I quit. I'm not playing this anymore.
Yeah, I remember Fear. The original Fear. I stopped playing that for about 3 or 4 months before I got the ball. To be fair, I was like in maybe 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when I finally did beat it, I was like, oh yeah, I beat this game.
You're vindicated.
Yeah, and then it kind of like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I didn't at the same time, and I ended up buying the second one and really enjoying that one. And you play the third one.
It's funny how, like, I think when, especially with horror trilogies, it seems like the first one's very kind of crude, very focused on horror, and then the second one's a perfect balance of action and horror, and then the third one they just goes straight action. I feel like that's a pretty common trend.
Yeah, I would agree. And Fear 1 had some like really cool slow-mo effects. I remember just slow-moing, throwing grenades,
like
just
time.
watching. Yes, for sure. For sure. So speaking of remakes, are you excited for that Alan Wake remake?
I have never even heard of the first one, so I'm kind of curious to see how that is.
If I'm not mistaken, it's kind of like an Xbox One or Xbox 360 kind of game. I don't really know too much about it. But I mean, it did seem cool. Cool enough for me to, maybe dip my toes in it, see what it's about.
Yeah.
Which I definitely do plan on getting the remake of Dead Space for sure.
I was just about to ask, having now me like having replayed and you seeing it now, like, are you like super excited for the remake?
Well, I want to see. So I'm hoping it's a remake more than a remaster, because so I feel like the real difference is a remaster is like, for instance, what The Last of Us did. Because The Last of Us, what they did is they slapped the graphics for the cutscenes and made the whole game look like a cutscene for the PS4. So I feel like that's a remaster. They already had those textures, ready to go. They just didn't have a console that was powerful enough to play them.
Right.
Whereas a remake, they're gonna have to do all of this from scratch and kind of keep everything the same, or story wise. So I'm hoping this is a pretty badass remake rather than maybe a remaster where they change a couple of things, but it maybe looks maybe 50% better.
Yeah. Oh my god, you animal! Sorry, my cat's being a fucking menace. Go away, Felix. Animal. Okay, so this is looking up real quick an article from August 31st. They are actually getting the original voice actor for Isaac Clarke back, and he will talk in the first game.
Cool. So that makes me wonder if they're going to go the whole route of Resident Evil, where they're going to just go ahead and remake them all.
I mean, maybe this is a test of it, where like if it sells well now, they're like, okay, people, there's a market for this, so now let's go. It's kind of like what I think they're kind of doing with a completely different game, but Destroy All Humans. Giving a fresh coat of paint and just seeing how it does, and if there's a market for it, well, then they'll do it again, and maybe they'll make new ones.
Have you played that yet?
I haven't. I want to though, because I love those games. And they are going to remake the second one, so it seems like that's working for them. Okay. So yeah, for Isaac talking in the first game, he will only speak when spoken to, and he will sometimes speak in a situation where it would feel weird if he remained silent. So kind of like what you were mentioning. Like when all this crazy shit happening, he's like not saying nothing. All right. So it does look like there are going to be some differences in the remaster to make it a little more like a remake.
Okay.
So they are getting the original voice actor for Isaac back for this remake.
Is it anybody we know?
Gunnar Wright. That name does sound familiar. I mean, besides him being the voice for Isaac back then. Let's see. I'm trying to see, what has he done? See, Dead Space. It looks like he's mainly in like more like a supporting actor and things.
Okay, well that's cool. He got
I mean, they
pretty
got it
big.
back. That's always cool. It seems like, yeah, I would say like more like supporting roles and things. He has been in a couple of big movies, but as far as like voice work, it seems like the main one, yeah, is just Dead Space as Isaac. Kind of in some pictures I'm seeing of him, it kind of does look like Isaac too, with the kind of grayish short hair and a beard.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So as far as like when he talks, um, apparently there are two main rules. One, Isaac will primarily only speak when spoken to, and two, Isaac will sometimes speak in a situation where it would feel weird if he remained silent. So I'm assuming when like crazy shit happens, like where he like someone would scream, or like just
Yeah,
go like what the, or say like what the fuck, things like that.
I feel like that's one thing he did do a lot in the first game was remain silent.
Yeah, like I would think like he would like go crazy the first time he saw like Nicole, Like he would definitely sing a lot of things to her. So that is good. Dismemberment is going to be more complicated. I'm
Remember them
assuming.
saying something about like maybe one shot may take the skin off and expose bone or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it seems like more like it will be like more of a what's the word? I think the wording they used here is a more organic feel. Like kind of like it slowly loses. The damage is cumulative. That's what I mean. So maybe one shot can do it, but there are other times where like you just said, skin, muscle, bone, and all that.
Okay, that would be cool, especially if you get like a real chunky necromorph.
Mm-hmm.
Nice little chunker.
Apparently the physics in zero gravity are going to be different. It'll be a lot more floaty.
Floaty. I like that. Okay.
Yeah, you're actually like kind of floating around, I guess, like an astronaut instead of just like jumping from like place to place.
I feel like it was like that because you had those magnetic shoes.
Yeah, I think even here they're like, that was apparently a criticism, but I liked it. I mean, I'm all for making it more realistic and all that, but I still liked it. I really like the zero gravity sections in the original.
Yeah, especially the fact that they were silent. It's pretty creepy.
As of now, it's always EA, so we'll see. But as of right now, no microtransactions. I don't know how you do that anyway, but knowing EA, you never know.
Shit. Have you seen Call of Duty lately?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, well, that's a different thing. But like, I mean, hopefully it's a remake of a fucking single player horror game. Just hope they keep to that. Let's just hope so.
Yeah, for sure.
Apparently they're gonna have more different ways of, I guess, incorporating the lore into the game.
Okay.
So I think they said it'd be more like a lot more environmental storytelling. It seems.
Okay, I can get down with that.
I guess maybe I guess maybe like maybe adding more audio or text logs, so it doesn't like you said, like it's bonus stuff, but it's not gonna like completely change the game if you miss it.
That'd be pretty cool, man. I'm actually really excited for this, man. I mean, just watching it kind of made me relive some stuff, but it was definitely a different experience from replaying it, I will say. So I'm excited.
And another one is it's supposed to flesh out its side characters, mainly Nicole.
Okay.
So they want to make it actually feel like you're looking for her, and that the more you look for her, the more you learn about what happened to her during the outbreak. Because I will say that, yeah, the first one, you go like chapters, and it just went like without anyone ever mentioning Nicole, which is like the main purpose of him being there.
Yeah, that is true.
And like I said, this was a couple of months ago, like a month and a half ago. to whom there's probably more info that I've missed out on. But I mean, that seems all pretty promising. So I guess maybe it's mainly a remaster, but definitely adding some stuff on there. So maybe it is actually, I would classify that as a remake now.
Now, did the Resident well, you'd never played the original Resident Evils, did you?
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna ask, if they did anything like that with the new ones.
I know the second one. No, they definitely changed it a lot because I know the second one, what they did was that was definitely a remake because the first one is like tank controls, like fixed cameras, and the second one, the remake of the second one is over the shoulder. It controls like a modern game, but it still kind of feels like a throwback, like with the zombies being really tough to kill, a lot of backtracking, but in a good way. Felix, oh my god, I love you, but you gotta get out of here. Go away. So but that's a lot different because that's a remake of a game from what, the freaking 90s or early 2000s. Yeah. Where this one's more, it's definitely old, 2008, but it's still, I'd say, pretty modern, all things considered.
That's really pretty.
But I mean, just based on those small details, and I don't think it's coming out till July, so it's still plenty of time for things to change and more info to come out. But that seems very promising, and just from the screenshots I've seen, the little videos, it looks amazing. Obviously.
Yeah, it looks like they got some cool ray tracing kind of going on.
The lighting is beautiful.
The lighting and the damage. I mean, yeah. I did see like kind of a little thing where they're showing them shooting the necromorphs and how it would take off a layer of muscle or whatever.
Like I'm looking at like a comparison of like a screenshot from the original to the new one, and yeah, the lighting is beautiful. There's a lot more resolution on his suit, and yeah, there's like the fog and everything. It looks just really cool. So I don't know if they showed off any enemies yet. They're probably waiting on that.
No, so I did see like a little demo of them shooting some necromorphs and showing the damage.
That was like in a weird like little VR demo thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm really curious to see like how it's gonna look, all of it. I mean, so yeah, having played that one and seeing how well it held up, so now with more with tighter controls and modern graphics, yeah, I'd say I'm pretty hyped for that, as long as they keep to their promises of like adding those things and not trying to like monetize it. Like I said, I don't know how you really would, but there's always a chance. Yeah, I'm not on the hype train or nothing for it, but I'm pretty stoked for it. Especially maybe by then I'll have a PS5 and it will look even better.
And I hope so. I'm telling you, join Twitter, man. There's plenty of people who send out little like little warnings that they're about to do a drop, and then key is for you to do it, and Alyssa, y'all both get on your phones, have your credit card ready. It's Evelyn's first time helping me. She got it. I'd been trying for months, never broke through the barrier.
Well, shit.
Her first time, immediately she got it.
Yeah, so I'm excited for that, and you know what? I'm really hoping that it sells well, and they'll remake the second one, and that'll maybe open the door for the revival of it, of them actually adding new games, whether it's with Isaac or something completely different.
Yeah, man.
Maybe even like doing I mean, I know it's not.
Something.
Yeah, I hope at least the more like, even if it's like a little, I guess, predictable, where like maybe you go to the original, like kind of go back to like them uncovering the original marker, see how that all plays out.
I will say that would probably have to be a more hide and survive kind of thing where you're not killing anybody, because I believe towards the end there were some necromorphs, but it would be more so dodging the people who are actually forming the religion. I think that would be a really interesting element. Maybe you playing Michael Altman, and yeah, I think that's actually a really good idea. But yeah, you would have to hide, because the story is basically everybody else was going insane, but except for Michael Altman. So because of that, they immediately kind of gave him like they felt like he was some kind of saint or messiah,
Right.
because everybody else is going crazy and he's the only one that's not.
Mhm.
To me, I would go the more you're a non-believer route than that, I guess.
Gotcha.
But yeah, for some reason they kind of elevated him like he was something important, and the saddest part is he was like, no, this, you guys are fucking nuts. I don't want any part of this. What are you doing? You're killing
Yeah.
yourselves, you're killing others, you're doing all this crazy shit. um but yeah, that I feel like that would be something you could do with kind of like a run and hide kind of
Mhm.
game.
That would be risky too, though, because it's a completely different from what Dead Space is known for. If that's gonna be like the first new game for like the revival of it, it's definitely one of those like, how much do you want to change, but also like, you don't want to like turn away the old fan base.
Like those are really hot though, man. Look at Resident Evil 7. It's not a complete, run and hide, but when you're up against one of those characters that they don't want to die, you're pretty much, you gotta hide. There's not really much you can do.
Yeah, I guess kind of like I was mentioning before. You kind of you change it up, but don't lose, your identity, your core identity.
Yeah, and but at the same time, you'd be building your core identity because this is the origin story.
Yeah, that's true.
So
If you want to go that route, or maybe play it even safer, do something new with Isaac. Maybe just do something completely different with Dead Space 3, or just, I don't know. Maybe it's still canon and just do
yeah,
something else.
I feel like they need to rework the religion and the alien parts of it because they're really fucked up. I feel like I won't spoil too much because we haven't played it together all the way through, but you'll
Yeah.
see whenever we do continue playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think I'll predict that it sells well enough for them to have faith in it, and they'll remake the second one, and from there, who knows what will happen. But I think the first two would definitely be remade.
I feel like the marketing it can be so much different now because back then, I really don't remember YouTube ads being like a really huge thing the way they are now.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely not. It was still like finding its footing.
Yeah, so how much cheaper or more expensive is running YouTube ads going to be compared to TV ads?
Yeah, YouTube, it would it'd definitely be better. I think that's like where a lot of people do it now. I mean, I hardly watch, TV except for like, a few shows. And really the only ads I would watch for YouTube would be like games I'm interested in.
I mean, even your social medias, like man, Far Cry 6 is all over
Yes,
Instagram.
that's exactly what I was thinking of.
Juan Carlo, man, that dude is all over Instagram. I'm seeing his face all the time. Him and a few other video games, man. They're just on Instagram, on Facebook, wherever they can pump out those videos, which I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're paying, God knows how much money to be elevated into that space for sure.
Yeah, but I feel like that's gotta be cheaper than like being on a network, right? I would think.
So.
I would think,
I
but
would think so.
I know nothing about that.
Yeah, I have no idea how
I
they run their metrics.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I feel like the marketing, would be a lot cheaper, and because it's a remake and stuff, I don't know like what engines they're using and stuff. Like if they were using a lot of assets, things like that, but I feel like it wouldn't cost as much. And since it's now a remake, you don't have to worry about that whole like, oh no, people aren't going to know what this is. People are going to know Dead Space now.
I feel like they're going to be using their Frostbite engine because I think that's EA's go-to engine.
Oh yeah. I mean, it looks nice, but hopefully it doesn't have a shit ton of bugs. Because
Yeah, well,
there was not a lot of, there were some bugs when I was replaying it, but there was nothing like game breaking.
I
Obviously.
think the issue was like you hear about a lot of Frostbite bugs, but I feel like that's with the soccer games because from what I understand, what they were saying was the soccer games really weren't that kind of gameplay style and all that wasn't really meant to be used on the Frostbite engine.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what they want. If I'm not mistaken, I'm not a software guy, so I could be totally wrong, but I think that's what the issue.
I could see that because when I played like a couple of the newer Madden games that used the Frostbite, I noticed like this is pretty wonky. Not like crazy bad, but it's just off. Like it's just all over the place. It's not right.
Yeah, it was another one that uses it that you can find some pretty hilarious compilations on is UFC. UFC,
Oh my
man.
god, yes.
You'll kick somebody in the fly out the ring and just all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, I have seen that. It is crazy. Yeah, I'm hoping yeah, the revival of it really gets it going again. Maybe it will never be like a big franchise, but just I feel like it, especially reading back, doing the research on it, I feel like it was just kind of it never got its proper footing, and so now I feel like it's a second chance to do it. I feel like it can actually nail it this time.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so, man.
Yeah, because I definitely this is one of my favorite franchises. Even if I haven't really played the third one, the first two have a very special place in my heart, though.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely up there with the Fallout series. It's something I played a lot. Played those a lot.
So like this, would you want to like kind of like go into the second one more? You think, or you think this is a pretty good, like we could delve into as much as we think we can. It's just this.
Yeah, man, I don't mind dropping into the second one. In fact, yeah, I kind of want to talk about that because the setting was vastly different. Because the setting was like on a bigger kind of like city ship, right?
Yeah, and I'd say it was definitely. I don't think there weren't side quests. I think it was still pretty linear, but it was definitely a lot more open space. You had a lot more options to go different routes, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Oh, but speaking of the third one, really quick, is one thing I don't know if you really got to see it, but one thing I really liked about the third one is the optional side quests. There were
Yes,
a lot of
yes.
side quests. Really enjoyed it.
And then another thing I want to compare it to though is that when we were playing the third one, I was trying to like upgrade my weapons. I might have been just way too tired or just overwhelmed with like all the new stuff, but like the crafting and stuff, it was just like I don't know what's going on. I'm not even gonna attempt to do anything with this. Whereas in the first one, yeah, it was super simple, but it was very satisfying to like upgrade weapons like that. I felt like, ooh, I am doing my best to find all these power nodes and upgrading all these my gear and stuff. Like I like that system. Very simple, not like nothing like groundbreaking, but it was very satisfying.
Yeah, Dead Space 3, I feel like they definitely went with a quantity over quality take on the modding of equipment, for sure, in my opinion.
Yeah, like it was very simple, like just reload speed, movement speed, power, obviously, capacity. Nothing crazy, but it like especially though going like I played a little bit. I played like the first couple chapters on the second playthrough with like the powered up weapons, and now having like just the plasma cutter cut through these things like nothing's like, oh man, that is super cool. And the
Yeah, I
variety
will.
and the variety of weapons too, it's pretty nice as well. I think they actually did have a good variety of weapons in the first one.
Yeah, that is something I forgot to mention, man. That plasma
Yeah.
cutter didn't leave my side the entire time, which I think was one of the complaints of the game. Is they did have a couple of other weapons, but they gave you like an OP badass gun from the get go. So like, what's the point?
Yeah, plasma cutter is definitely the best one. Pulse rifle is good when like there's a shit ton of enemies. You kind of need to get in the back off, especially with you have so much ammo for it. I remember the Ripper. The Ripper is a really cool weapon too, especially if you upgrade that alt fire, just that disc just cuts through them easy. The line gun is nice for like the baby ones because you can like take off all their tentacles at once.
Yeah, man. Those
little fuckers, I know. The worst ones are the jumping ones. I forgot their name. Well, the ones that like, just have the upper body and the tail and can like jump really far. Oh no. Oh no, there you
Okay.
are. Okay. Thank God.
Yeah. For some reason, my disconnected really quick.
Okay. I probably different for me since I got mine like wired into like a Wi-Fi extender.
No, I have mine wired to my computer, but these are some really old Astro A40s. Yeah. But hopefully, like I said, I do have a podcasting mic coming in. Nothing too expensive.
Yeah. Well,
I sent you the link.
Yeah, you did. Let me know. I guess when we do another recording, let me know how that one is, and then if it's really good, then I'll buy it too. I mean, $30 is nothing.
Yeah. Especially for something cool. Just something to get started out with.
Yeah.
Which any people who are listening. We haven't uploaded our first episode yet, but I plan on, after we're done with this, uploading it. I just want to say thank you to any listeners that we have, if any. If we don't have any, thank you to all the ghosts out there listening.
I think already too. I can already tell just from the feeling and the way we've been talking. This one we're talking, this episode here, this Dead Space episode is, I feel like, a lot more structured and just well laid out than the first one, because the first one's just more of a just a series of tangents and just a train of thought more than anything. Here it's definitely like, I feel like we did a lot better job focusing with like a few tangents here and there, but
yeah, I mean, you did a badass job on your research.
oh well, hey, you're doing the editing and shit, so I that's not something I can really do.
My $2.50 worth of editing. Yeah, that's something I definitely need to delve more into and see how to do better, because it's.
Always, I'll learn that too, and that's fine, man. You do that. If you focus more on editing, I can do like a little bit of the research too. And since my schedule's not as crazy, I can focus on playing the games a little more firsthand. It's easy. It's a team thing, man.
Yeah, for sure. And shout out to Rad Brad and the Gamers channel.
Yeah, GVMERS. They do if you're interested in like a lot of like, they do a lot of the Rise and Fall series. So if you like games, like, I wonder what happened there, like with Medal of Honor and things like that. They do a great job going through the developmental history and like things that what went right at first and then kind of just what fell apart, what caused it.
So with Dead Space, what really stuck out to you in the video from them? They maybe said was the lead contributor to the fall.
If I were to say, just we just couldn't make its money back, and whether I think a lot of that was, I don't know if they did a port. I never really. I believe the first one was crazy too, because they said the development kind of went smooth. Obviously, you have hiccups here and there, but it wasn't like stuck in a developmental hell or nothing. There was nothing that was like drastically changed. Some things, but nothing that would make you go like, oh wow, that must have cost them an arm and a leg.
And I will say, like, when we were talking about it, it seemed like while it wasn't, while it was like, critically acclaimed, like a lot of people really enjoyed the game, it never really got its footing and took off financially.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was, like I said, it was you always have competition with games, but that year and that month, that holiday season specifically, fucking brutal. Like, it was really brutal.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, during that video, because I did see it, I love that channel. One of the main contributors, at least with the second game, like you were saying earlier, was that your mom wouldn't like this or whatever campaign, which like I said, I enjoyed as a high school kid.
Of course.
But I'm pretty sure many mothers did actually look and be like, nah.
Yeah, not.
And I don't like this.
Yeah, I guess maybe maybe some people fell into the more like, oh, this is for children. Video games only for children. But then it kind of backfires because like, this is rated M. Then why are you trying to market this, towards underage kids?
Yeah.
So it's like I said, at the time, if you were like a high school kid, they're beautiful, but you're not gonna be. You don't have the power to buy it yourself.
But that's the whole world, man. I mean, look at vapes, look at energy drinks.
That's true.
Everything.
That's true. Well, it doesn't cost $40 million, to develop those things. I mean, not that I'm aware of. Maybe it does for like a whole year's worth of supply, but for a game, that's a little different because it's just that's the product.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I honestly just bad luck, or maybe just maybe spending too much on marketing and not marketing well. Probably a double whammy there. It's kind of spending money in the wrong places. And then maybe by the time they really did sell well, because I know the second game sold 4 million, which is a lot better, obviously. 4 times as much. But even then, the budget. When we do the episode of the second one, I'll have the exact numbers. But the budget was a little higher. I think it was probably like 50, 60 million. And then the marketing, then about the same thing probably. So 4 million right there. You sell it for $60. That's 240 million.
Yeah.
But again, you probably see half of that, and that's if you sold them all at 60, at the full retail 60.
Well, those would have to be 240 individual buys that eventually somebody did sell to GameStop, right? Not really sure how those metrics go, but
As I'm saying, like let's just say like if they sold 4 million, and they sold all, like, and just to make it simple, they did all sell at $60 retail. That's 240 million. Isn't the rule of thumb like the the publishers would see like half of that, unless it's like on digital, where you see a higher percentage of that.
yeah, I think so. And I really think during that time, digital hadn't even started.
Yeah, it was like a little bit. So like at best 150 million. So with a budget of like maybe 50 or 60 million with marketing, then you're probably looking at a small profit, if that,
Yeah, small to EA, because I know EA is definitely a numbers company.
So like yeah. But I will say, yeah, if you just sold that many and you still only make like 10, 50 million, that could be, obviously that's a lot of money for us, but I can see in the grand scheme of things for a big company that spent that much money, go, oh shit, that wasn't a lot.
Yeah, man. Another thing too, as far as those companies go, is the development hell. How these guys are putting their blood and soul and
Exactly.
getting divorced. And how much money they should actually be getting paid that's going unpaid. A lot of people are being sued for overworking their people and not paying them for that.
Well, I mean, I think was the last one, even with like The Last of Us 2, that was a big thing,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not me picking on them. Pretty much every game is guilty of that. I mean, if you can Cyberpunk too, and then I'd say with that, like I said, whether it was like, I'm assuming it was the higher ups that probably put pressure on them to make the third one more action oriented, or maybe that was always the plan. I'm not gonna go into that yet because I don't know. But in any case, either way, I could see why they'd want to go in a different direction, because they probably thought, well, this isn't exactly working, so let's try to spread out. Let's try to reach a higher market, a larger market, and it just really didn't work, because it wasn't like, it was fun and it still controlled well, but definitely there are like better shooters out there. There were definitely at the time too. I know there were like better co-op shooter games. You're not gonna go to You don't go to Dead Space for that. That's more of like a side thing. You could definitely do that. And I think because of that, like I said, I didn't even get it because I thought that doesn't look like it's for me.
Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people had that thought and didn't sell well. And I don't think it was one factor. It was like, I guess maybe just like at least not that I know of yet, a culmination, just death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes.
Man. No person that made this all happen. No specific moment. It was just just a series of bad luck. A series of unfortunate events.
Yeah.
Because even with the third one, even though I wasn't like in love with it, I mean, just based on what I played, it wasn't bad. It was just fine though.
Yeah. I mean, having beat the whole thing, it definitely could be better. I didn't like how they just drifted so far from the horror elements, and it was a lot of action. There were some creepy parts, but it was mostly jump scares. I feel like there wasn't a lot of environmental storytelling. I mean, there was some cool elements that they added, like introduction of the alien species and all this and that. But yeah, it's I don't really want to spoil it, like I said, but even though it isn't old, especially.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it was good though. It was good. Like it definitely went that Resident Evil 5 route or that Fear 3 route for me, at least. I think for a lot of people, really.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't know the numbers on that. I haven't gotten to that yet, but like I said, yeah, just kind of it's a little disappointing when I was looking into it. I'm like, crap, it's kind of like doomed from the beginning almost. Even if it wasn't so obvious, but like I said, hopefully this remake does it. I mean, hell, and the that kind of inspired us to kind of like go into this again, go down memory lane and go like, is this good as I remember? And for me, it definitely was. And I'm super stoked to try out the second one and see like, all right, I remember the second one being a masterpiece. So let's see if that holds up.
I think it will.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, I already know the beginning's gonna like get my blood pumping. So
Yeah.
so yeah, we'll guess when we'll try to have that out then in a couple of weeks maybe. I mean, I have plenty of time now that I'm at home, so I can beat that game pretty
for
quick.
sure, man.
And I guess we do the
Sure.
similar thing. Like you just want to watch, you probably only have to watch videos on it. I'm not gonna try to like breeze through it because obviously I don't want to like put pressure on myself and like not enjoy the game and just rush through it.
Yeah, I think
I think
that'd be a good one.
Yeah, you definitely do it, especially now that I think I'm used to like the mouse and keyboard now with that game. And it's not really long. I beat the first one like in about 10.5 hours. And that was me like searching around trying to find, all the little secrets and stuff. So I'm assuming the second one's could probably be around like 11 or 12 hours.
Yeah, I think they added a nice little chunk to it. But yeah, I think definitely maybe in a week or two, that'd definitely be a good next episode. Yeah, man. You want to end it here?
Yeah, we've talked a good amount on it. Honestly, I feel like now the the next one we do is just be mainly on the second game. That's good. Well, I don't know. We could probably still talk about it a lot, depending on. I guess just I don't remember much of the story and stuff, so maybe you can talk more about how they fleshed out the universe in that game because I think that's what it really focused on was fleshing out a lot of that lore.
Yeah, I think they really did a better job with that one. But I feel like they're really trying to come into their own with that second game. They knew they had something, and I feel like they're really riding on the fact that hey, we got to sell.
Yeah, they had a formula, but they knew not just to do the exact same thing. They added a few things, and again, from what I remember, they did well. And I think if I make a guess right now, I think I would have given that game like I don't like doing halves, but I would say like near perfection, like a 9.5 and a 10 is what I would have given it originally.
What I remember in my memory is it just being a perfect blend of horror and action, like Fear 2.
That's what I remember too. I think the bosses were a little better. They added some varieties in the enemies, which is crazy because they already had a good amount. But like I said, I think another thing that helped is Isaac actually
he's
talking.
More vocal. Yeah.
And the whole mental aspect of it too. Now you really do have to wonder like how much of you're seeing is real or not. I think that's a nice little touch as well.
Just losing his mind. Yeah, they definitely play up that aspect that he is.
Crazy.
Because in the second or in the first game, they really made it seem like he wasn't affected. Obviously, he probably had some scarrings or maybe PTSD from the experience, but not affected in the same way that people who are under the marker spell, like the same way Michael Altman wasn't.
Yeah.
But in that second one, they kind of made it clear, like, no, he really did. It did take a toll. The experience did take a toll sometime after.
Just in a different way.
Yeah, so I did enjoy
that. So I'm super stoked about that. Really enjoyed my first time with that game. It was a little rough at first, like I said, just getting used to it, and it's a lot different playing a game for like I guess a specific reason. Like this is still a hobby, but now it's kind of like I'm playing Dead Space. I would not have been playing that game just on my own. So it's a little bit of a different experience, especially like taking notes during it, like pausing and going like, "Ooh, I need to remember this."
Yeah, I have them all, but yeah, you're right. Without this, I probably wouldn't go back and play them again. Right? I got a full plate. I'm trying to play Far Cry 6. I'm trying to play, PSVR, whatever else is coming out now. Even Call of Duty. Was it Cold War?
Yeah. I'd like to replay those too. I just see like one games I feel like would be hard to replay would be RPGs because that's just like so much time.
Yeah, you really
like. I would love to go through Skyrim again, but that's like, all right, see you in 2 months.
You know what? and I can't, man. Like I bought the PS4 version and I have yet to really play it. I bought it in VR.
That's
And that is
amazing.
like just a beautiful experience, man. That's just a whole nother level. But man, it is a sweaty ass time because you're standing in this hot, fucking headgear on your face, and it's just you're sweating, you're fogging up the little screen, dude.
Dude,
but at the same
imagine.
time, it's like, you're actually controlling a bow. You're actually swinging. So I
Yeah.
do look kind of like a dumbass,
I mean, to be fair, I think anyone does in VR.
No, but the sword fighting, dude, I look like a
Oh,
total fucking klutz. Like I'm just
man,
kind of slapping him with the sword in the face.
could you imagine Dead Space in VR? I think I'd puke.
Yeah, I would probably have a heart attack, especially that opening scene.
Yeah, oh my god, I was thinking about that. Like I know Resident Evil 7 in VR is intense, so fucking Dead Space, oh god.
Yeah, that's a no go for me.
Oh yeah, man, I think we did a good talk here. I think we did all we could about a good overview of the entire series and really did a pretty good, good in-depth on the first one. Final verdict of that, 9 out of 10. Still a great game. Very, I think for me, influential and holds up incredibly well. If for some reason you have not played that game, go play it.
Yeah, I think I'd give it maybe a 8.5, and just where I'm coming from is, like I said, I had a different experience. I'm watching somebody, I kind of have to go along with whatever he wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely an 8.5.
Yeah, about the same. Yeah, very good game.
Yeah, I mean, there's some issues with it, but it's definitely a classic game that I love. And to be honest, I would say that my kids, when they get old enough, can enjoy it.
Definitely. At least when you're old enough to understand it's not real and you're not gonna like shit yourself.
Yeah. Well, they still might shit themselves anyway.
It is a scary game.
Either that or they'll be like, the PS7 looks way better than this.
Oh god, I mean, yeah, but 2008 game, so cut us some slack.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, man, I love you, bro. And if you're still listening to two sick guys talking,
highly medicated men.
Yeah. Well, I got Evelyn did the whole rub Vicks on my chest and on my back and the bottoms of my feet and all this shit. You know how it is.
Yeah, I got like fucking blood thinners and painkillers in me, so
But you got a good old Max Payne going on.
Oh, yeah, no liquor though. No, none of that though.
You definitely don't want the leathery skin and the fucked up liver.
No, don't need that. But that's another good game maybe in the future we can go through.
Yes, that and one before we leave, I'd really like to get into, which I know you're not a fan of this genre, but the Telltale Walking Dead series.
I'm willing to give it a chance. Something like this. I said it's always good to feel for us to try games that we come in with different angles at, just to get like a difference of opinion.
Sure.
Well, thank you all for listening. Hope this one was a lot more structured. You got something out of it, whether you have played this game before and loved it and just want to hear someone else take on it, or for some reason, maybe you're a Gen Z or a Zoomer, you're just like, what the hell is Dead Space? Hopefully this gets you interested in it, and you give it a shot. It's definitely worth a playthrough.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, Unrelated brother, I like to say I love you too. Had fun, and in our next episode it will be Dead Space 2.
Yeah, man. All right.
All right. Well, take care, y'all. You take care too, Jay. You have a good night.
Take care, brother. Be safe.
All right, you too. Love you.
Love you too, man.